Okay, so let's talk about Rita Hayworth. So yesterday we had the performance. I made a video about it last night, but posted it on today, which is Thursday. So you'll probably see this Friday. Anyways, so I'm taking dance lessons at a place called Fred Astaire Dance Studio, and it's a chain. They hire dance instructors, and they make sure all the instructors are certified and take rigorous tests and practices. They have to learn both the male parts and the female parts. This just to make sure the quality of dance is the same among all the schools, and that's probably why it's a little bit more expensive. But it dawned on me, like, I'm taking lessons at this place, and everybody knows of Fred Astaire, right? They've heard the name. Oh yeah, he's a guy. He's been famous for dancing. But like, it dawned on me that I never really like sat down and watched his stuff, or like went through the catalog. So I started like looking up videos on YouTube. I saw this like top 10 Fred Astaire dance routines. There's one he's dancing with a cane, and he's like Jackie Chan is with martial arts, with like props and just like finding creative, inventive ways to have the martial arts action sequence play out. That's kind of what Fred Astaire does, or I guess maybe what he's most recognized for, most famous. He has that one, and if you go watch it, it's pretty amazing to think that they did that back in the 40s, 50s. There's a dance routine where he ends up dancing on the ceiling, and it's a camera trick, obviously, but they built a room, and then they had everything like drilled, I guess nailed in, and then the room actually rotates around so that he's walking on the floor, and then all of a sudden I guess the room rotates, so then he's walking on the side of the wall, and then it rotates again, and he's like dancing on the ceiling. But because the camera is situated and the camera stays the same point of view, like it always, from the camera's point of view, the gravity is always going one way. It's pretty awesome. Like, and to think that they did that. I mean, how do you do it back then? Like, how do you do that back then, man? To have a massive room just turn around like that. I mean, golly, dude, it must have been crazy logistically. And it makes me think, because I've watched a couple of videos on YouTube where how they explain. It's funny because it really ties into with like Jackie Chan. I've seen some videos online where they talk about like Jackie Chan and how he planned out like martial arts movies, and like how like there'll be like a punch, but from the outside person punching, then they'll zoom in on the body where you see the punch land, but they always do it a couple frames back. So it's like you almost see the punch twice. You see him punch in outside view, and then it gets close, and you see the punch from inside view. So it really really makes the effect. And it made me think about dancing and stuff and martial arts now, because a lot of that stuff is done through cheats, right? Like a lot of these dancers, I don't want to say they're not good, but it's not shot in the same way, because back then it was like, bar the costs, film it 50 times if we have to, just to get it right. But now they care about costs. They don't have to worry about film, because everything can be shot like digitally and stuff now. But I mean, they have to worry about keeping staff out there. I mean, I don't think any actors want to shoot something like 100 times in a row until they get it right. A lot of those limitations are all stuff that they cut out, and with it is lost some of these shots, because you no longer do the dances in one take. You no longer do the martial arts choreography in one take. You just cheat it by like moving the camera, like you're cutting camera angles, so it looks like one big continuous performance, but it's not. Why did I get into this? I was talking about Rita Hayworth, and so I was watching Fred Astaire, and there's a couple dance routines, and the one that really stood out to me was this one with him and Rita Hayworth doing the Shorty George. And like, I had known, okay, the way I knew Rita Hayworth, and this, I don't know how about you guys, but Shawshank Redemption, you remember in that movie, they're like watching the movie, and Tim Robbins goes to uh, narrator guy, and is like, "Hey, can you get me Rita Hayworth?" And then they're watching the movie, and she does her hair flip, which is absolutely amazing, dude. This Rita Hayworth had like an amazing smile. Like when I watch her dance now, like that's the first thing I notice. And then so I was like, oh well, shoot, Rita Hayworth was dancing with Fred Astaire. That's pretty cool. And I watched it, and it's absolutely. I love this routine because it's the visuals of it. It's a pretty. Rita Hayworth has real skinny legs in this, and her legs flopping around with the choreography is absolutely like really memorable for me. Like when I see it, I'm like, just that's all I can see in her like short skirt with the floppity flop legs, and just uh, I looked up a bunch of stuff. One of the things they said there was like reviews and people commenting on her from the past. I'm reading it right now. It said there was this kind of reserve about Fred. It was charming. It carried over to his dancing. With Hayworth, there was no reserve. She was very explosive. And that's why I think they really complemented each other. And I don't know. You watch it for yourself and you let me know if maybe I'm just reading into it. I don't know, dude. Just, and it says Rita's youthful exuberance meshed perfectly with Fred's maturity and elegance. And I'm just like, when I watch it, I'm just like, yeah. At the end of this dance routine, there'll be a part where they're like, they're not in like regular dance pose. Like she's got her arms over over his neck. It's just an awkward like hug. It's an awkward hug, but they're still like dancing side to side, and it's just like, yeah, it just looks so fun. It looks so fun. I would want to like. That's one thing I'm looking for, I think, in a relationship now, especially since I started taking dance lessons. Like, I would really want to date somebody who's, like, into dance or into dance the same way as I am. So it's something that we can do together. It's really funny because I don't think I ever really thought about it. Like, oh, man, I really would like somebody to dance with. But, like, ever since I started taking dance, I've been like, man, I want to go home and I want to practice. But you have no one to practice with, and I could call a couple of my friends, but it's something that you get really close and intimate with, and I don't think I'm at a point where I just want to go and like dance with people that I'm not really, I would want to dance with somebody I was in a relationship with versus just like actually practicing every day with somebody just randomly, and yeah, and I decided to myself too, like my mom, she found out I was doing dance classes, and she's like, "Oh, David, really show me what you learned." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And and she's like, and I knew this about my mom. I just didn't realize, sometimes your parents tell you stuff and you don't really realize what they're saying. But I started showing her the stuff I learned, and she was like, "Oh, really? Oh, you can do this too, right? And you could do this, right? And you could do this." And I was like, "What? Like, how do you know all this stuff?" She's like, "David, I told you, I danced in college. I went to clubs all the time, like with my group of friends. We were always dancing, but we would never tell anybody. I wouldn't tell my parents. We wouldn't tell anybody because it was looked down like, oh, what kind of thing are you doing, going around hugging up on guys every night? But she was like, I like dancing and it's fun. Me and my mom like. She's been showing me stuff and like stuff I can do, and it's like brought me a confidence in going to class and like into these parties and just like messing around and doing stuff that wasn't taught in class. It's been fun, but like I decided to myself that I was going to draw the line. I really want to learn the tango, which is tango is so fun. It's so fun because it's like you're dancing in a character, right? Because you have to be like, my teacher was like, you need to be like a lion on the savannah and on the prowl, prowl for your hunt. And that's the way you have to like move. When you move, you have to do that. And then like, also I think in the tango, you don't actually ever look at your partner. You're not supposed to like look at your partner. So it's like every time it's always like they're facing one way and you're facing the other way. And you're like, don't. And you're always like, you're always facing opposite. And it's almost like she's always like looking away from you. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with you. And you're like, It's so great, dude. And then you do the, and then like when you want to go this way, you both go, and then you go that way. It's such I can't. I'm supposed to be serious, but I'm always laughing when I'm doing it because it's just such a goofy, like over the top, like so great, man. And but I drew a line. I said I can practice with my mom. I can do the hustle. I can do the all the other stuff. The what's it called? What is the mom? My mom taught me the other one. It's a different. Anyways, I could do all this stuff. But I have drawn the line. I'm not going to ever practice the tango with my mom. She wants to learn it, and I told her to go to the studio and take some lessons, and she said yes. And she's out of town right now. When she comes back, she's going to go take lessons. But that's where I draw the line. I am 38 years old. I love my mom. I have a great relationship with her, but I am not going to be dancing the tango with my mom. That's where I draw the line. That's a little bit too much. I'm okay being weird, but that's too weird. So yeah. But yeah, going back to Rita Hayworth, yeah. So I've been looking up her stuff. I'm gonna go watch some of her movies. Besides, okay, I'm gonna end it by watching this, by showing you this other one. So that movie with the Shorty George is You Were Never Lovelier. That's her second movie with Fred Astaire. But the first movie was You'll Never Get Rich. And they have this Boogie Baccarole, or Baccarole. It's such a great scene. I love this scene. I haven't watched the movie yet, but like... So the scene starts off, they're practicing and they're like dancing around, right? And Fred Astaire stops Rita Hayworth's character, which is I forget her name in this movie, but she stops her and she's like, "Hey, so you're not doing things right. How come you're like everybody's supposed to be in sync, but I love girls who are independent, but sometimes being independent and doing your own thing is not good." So he's like, "Can you do it like this?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I could do it. You want to dance with me?" And he's like, "Okay, let's dance together." And it's great. I'm not gonna talk. I'll let this scene play.
Sheila Winthrop. Yeah, that's right. Oh, Miss Winthrop.
Yes, Mr. Curtis?
Now, there's nothing I admire more than the spirit of independence, but sometimes it can be carried too far. For instance, our group is known for absolute precision. All the other girls are doing this dance one way, and you're doing it another.
I'm sorry, but I don't know that part of the routine.
Would you like to try it with me?
I'd love to.
Tommy, let's have the second 24 bars. Ready? 1 and 2 and... That's much better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then, so then they do the whole number. I'm going to fast forward through this. It's a big number. It's a grandiose. They got the whole orchestra playing. Yay. And then when the number finishes, she's going to be confronted by one of her other dancers. And she's like, "Hey, yo, so what's going on? Why you keep messing up that number when you're perfectly good at it?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know what you mean." It's like, "Look, you always mess it up whenever." It's just so classy, dude. It's just a classy way. I'm going to shut up. I'm just going to play it, and I'm going to end it with them working out the end of the thing. It's great. So great.
That's it. Take 5 minutes.
Oh, I made a mistake. Sheila, just who do you think you're kidding?
I don't know what you mean.
You know what I mean. You know that dance routine as well as I do.
That's right.
Then why do you muff it just when Mr. Curtis is around?
Because I like to dance with him.
Is that all?
I like the way he talks.
Is that all?
I like his personality.
Is that all?
Isn't that enough?
It's a good beginning, but don't get your hopes up, dear.
Why not?